Good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining me today on our female leadership panel in honor of National Women's History Month. My name is Stacy Shapiro, and I'm the Youth Engagement Specialist at the Summer Youth Employment Program at United Activities Unlimited. And I'm really excited to be joined by such a wonderful group of women and females with me today that are part of a wonderful broad array of different career fields. And I'd like to give a chance for each of them to introduce themselves and what they do. And we'll start with Kristine Garlisi from the Nicotra Foundation.
Hi, my name's Kristine Garlisi. I'm the Chief of Staff to Lois and Richard Nicotra, who are the founders and owners of the Nicotra Group. The Nicotra Group is Staten Island's largest private real estate developer, and they own the Hilton Garden Inn on South Avenue, as well as 1.5 million square feet of space. I'm also the Executive Director of the Lois and Richard Nicotra Foundation, which is their family foundation, and they've given away more than $1 million to Staten Island nonprofits and to scholarships for their employees' children and grandchildren. It's so great to be here. Thank you for the invitation.
Of course, thank you for being here, Kristine. And next, we'll give a chance to Sharmilla Thakkar from the Staten Island Not-for-Profit Association.
Hi, everyone. I'm so honored to be here. Kristine and I were talking earlier about how we look forward to this month. So to be amongst all of you is really meaningful for me. Yes, I am Executive Director of the Staten Island Not-for-Profit Association and the community organizations Active in Disaster, which is a coalition of nonprofits that respond and prepare and respond to disasters and emergencies in Staten Island. Specifically, the Nonprofit Association is a membership organization for over 150 nonprofits and community organizations in Staten Island. And we and our staff and board provide capacity building, technical assistance, and resources, including networking and funding opportunities to our members to help them, in turn, serve the communities that many of you are a part of. Honored to be here.
Awesome. And of course, again, thank you for being here, Sharmilla. Next, I'd like to give a chance to Nina Flores from the Staten Island Business Outreach Center.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for having me. I am Nina Flores. I am the Executive Director here at the Staten Island Business Outreach Center. I'm also the Executive Director of the Forest Avenue Business Improvement District. Our organization helps entrepreneurs, and we also have a women-owned women business center. So we are SBA resource partner. We also help businesses who are women or minority owned get certified. So any government contracts you are looking to obtain, we're here to help, and we help to guide you from soups to nuts, from starting your business. If you have an idea, we can help you with business counseling. We have webinars and one-on-one technical assistance. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, Olivia Newkirk from New York Bioforce.
Hi, everyone. It's great to be here. So I'm from New York Bioforce, which is a program based out of a nonprofit in Harlem that works to provide opportunities in STEM for students who are women or underrepresented minorities in STEM. I have a background in engineering and research, and I love being able to share those skills with the next generation of researchers.
Wonderful. Thank you for joining us. Next, Dr. Cornish, would you like to say a few words?
Hi, everyone. My name is Dr. Anya Cornish. I'm a board certified pediatrician, as well as the director of ambulatory pediatrics at Staten Island University Hospital Northwell Health. I'm also the director of community and advocacy, as well as on the executive committee for women in medicine for the institution of Staten Island Northwell. I work a lot with residents, with students via mentorship, and Staten Island Hospital is really a place that tries to support women in their career advancements. And we also work a lot with our community as well to provide mental health workshops, nutritional workshops, COVID-19 mental health wellness, and Stacey and I have worked together in the past. So thank you for having me here today. It's a pleasure.
Thank you for being here, Dr. Cornish. Sara, Naaem from the Wagner College PA program. Please introduce yourself.
Hi, thank you for inviting me. I'm currently a clinical year student in the PA program at Wagner College. At Wagner, I do serve as diversity chair for our program. So a lot of the work that I do involves local community organizations. For example, the Pride Center of Staten Island, we recently hosted training sessions for medical providers to treat LGBTQ patients and just kind of learn from that community. I also serve as a student delegate to the American Academy of Physician Assistants, and I am a future educator fellow with the Physician Assistant Education Association. So I do a lot of work with the national organizations to kind of get Wagner the name out there and just like in general, our program.
Awesome. Thank you for joining us, Sarah. And Nisha Tumber from United Activities Unlimited, Learn and Earn program.
Hi, everyone. My name is Nisha Tumber. And whenever someone asks me what I do, I always kind of respond with which zip code. But most, yeah. So I am an education specialist over at UAU. We service 66 juniors and seniors at Port Richmond High School. We prepare them for really all things life readiness, career readiness, college readiness. I am also a MSW student, a Master's of Social Work student over at the College of Staten Island, graduating in 2 months. Super exciting. And through the College of Staten Island, I have, thanks everyone, I see the claps. Through the College of Staten Island, I've made fantastic partnerships through fellowships and through internships with CS and the DA's office. So thank you for inviting me. I'm very excited to be here.
Of course, thanks for being here, Nisha. And again, a big, tremendous thank you to all of the wonderful panelists we have joining us this evening. Since this is a female leadership panel, I'd like to start off with a very broad question, but one I think is really important, and that is to all of you, what in your perspective does it mean to be a leader? And I'd like to first give a chance to Kristine to answer.
So thank you very much, Stacey. What an important question. And I think to me, being a leader means to be a learner. So I think being a leader means that you have to be consistently interested in what's going on around you and who is working with you and what their goals are. So being a leader to many people, I think sounds like a solitary opportunity or task, and it's anything but that. It's a team sport. So to me, being a leader means being an excellent, intuitive listener and speaking less and learning more about everything going on around you.
Great, thank you. And to that point, what would you say is your leadership style?
You know, it's funny, my name starts with a K, and a friend of mine, Jacqueline, since the day she met me just about 5 or 6 years ago, she calls me Kind Kristine. And I think that maybe I wouldn't have said it about myself, but I'll quote Jacqueline. I think my leadership style is certainly firm, you know, in terms of what we need to get done, but I try to do it with kindness. And the people I work for, before I worked for them, I met them years ago, and they mailed me a book called The Power of Nice. And so we really focus our company on the power of nice, that there is power in kindness and niceness. It's not naive. It is, if anything, it helps you understand people more, and it helps you move things forward in a very unique way that feels good at the same time. So I'll go with kindness and being nice, because it can coexist with getting things done.
Very true point. Thank you, Kristine. Nina, what would you say is your leadership style, and what do you think makes a leader?
So my leadership style is like a coaching kind of thing. So we want to empower everybody. Of course, leadership is great, Kristine. That answer was wonderful. It's like how you top that. But my leadership role is more coaching. I like to inspire and help empower women and help empower the young, the youth, and everything. Just, you know, to get the word out. If you're passionate about something, you want to make sure you have that passion and get out there, educate yourself, and be empowered. Learn from the panel of women we have here, and just information is key, knowledge is power.
Awesome, thank you. Nisha, what would you say in your perspective it means to be a leader, and what would you describe your leadership style as?
So for me, leadership, well, to be a leader, and it's funny, whenever I get asked this question, I refer back to when I asked my students this question, and they said, well, it means to like tell people what to do. And like in that moment, I was so taken aback because that is traditionally how we're taught leadership is to be. Like that is what a leader is, you tell people what to do. And from that, I just kind of drew this perspective that leadership is really just everyday things. Any opportunity that you have to stand up, to be kind, like you were saying, Kristine, is an opportunity to be a leader. So my leadership style is really to draw on the strengths of the people that surround me, to really focus on their strengths and to recognize that like I don't want anyone to be like me, and I don't want a team to be full of Nishas. I want a team full of Stacy's, Michelle's, Sharmilla's, Nina's, Sarah's. And I think that's the beauty of leadership. And I think my leadership really focuses on drawing on the strengths of the individual. Very social work answer.
Oh, very well put point. Thank you, Nisha. Sharmila, what would you like to add in terms of what you think makes a great leader and what you think your leadership style is?
It is always so hard going after a number of amazing women that have like said everything. So I would ditto everything that's already been said times 100. I would add a couple of things, which might resonate based on what we've heard. I think being a leader means having courage. More than anything this year, I've learned about risk taking and that not always having the answers is leadership. Um, Relying on the power and potential of the people around you is an incredible trait to have when you realize that it takes a collective to really kind of make change. And for me, I would add that being a leader means being accountable, because if you are part of a team, you are not only often empowering others and bringing collective voices to the table, but you are taking some sort of responsibility for what you're setting out to do. Um, and, you know, you've heard it here already, but I always feel, prior to the role I have, and even to this day, I do a lot of work in philanthropy and the nonprofit sector as a volunteer and as a mentor and as a consultant. And I believe that as leaders, we have the power to do good. And so for me, a leader has their vision set on what is to come and is able to bring people to meet that vision together. And so in terms of style, I would, some of you have already said it, but supportive and engaging, taking an approach of mentorship and coaching, as well as just having a mindset of collaboration.
Wonderful, well said. Thank you. Dr. Cornish, what would you say is your leadership style, and in your experience, what do you think makes a great leader?
Yeah, absolutely. Of course, all amazing answers prior to mine. I would say, really leading by example, because when you are put to lead a team and you're almost, watching for things, asking things of others, you really need to ask yourself, are you those things? Are you working hard? Are you showing up on time? How is your work ethic and professionalism? And I think that leading by example is what really sets the tone for the team, as well as having that vision of what you want that to look like. Also really engaging the team, not being, you're running the show, you're making all these decisions. What is the greater good of the team? And I think focusing on those are important. I would also say that a main thing for me is I think a leader is also an advocate. So you are an advocate for your team, for those around you, for your patients, if that's what you're doing. But you should be able to advocate when things need to be advocated for. And the last one I would say is a leader is someone that's resilient, because you are going to get knocked down at times. You are going to have low points. You are going to have, people that question you or might not agree with, the decisions that you're making. But a leader is someone who's resilient, who, thinks about things, takes criticism, works to improve, and really advocates for their team and leads by example. So yeah.
Wonderful. Yeah, I think that point on resilience is very well put, and something that I think rings true for all of us in many different ways. Thank you. So thank you for that really insightful answer. Liv, would you like to add anything in regards to what you think makes a great leader in your experience in leadership?
Yeah, absolutely. I think my sentiments echo a lot of what you've already heard. Leadership is about collaboration. It's about working with people. And to me, being a leader really is about standing for something. It's about being able to get people around you to make something happen and to work towards a common goal. That's kind of how I see a leader, again, echoing that sentiment of collaboration. As for my leadership style, I think it changes in different settings. I think it always adapts. In my role leading the Bioforce program, I'm a leader of a team of instructors, and I'm also a leader in the classroom when I'm teaching skills. And I think working with my instructors, running those meetings, it's about me figuring out what their talents are and what their skills are, and where I can use them best and how we can come together to create this great thing. And then when I'm in front of my students, it's about providing them with the structure and knowing that they look up to me for my expertise, and knowing that my role in that situation is a little bit different than my role in my leadership team, even though I'm the leader of both of those. And so being able to adapt to those different situations and know what my skills are, and how to bring them to that situation, but also what the people around me need and what their skills are.
A really great answer. Thank you, Liv. And Sarah, what would you like to add on in terms of like specifically your experiences as the diversity chair and at Wagner College and your experiences as a student?
Yeah, so being a student leader is an interesting experience just because we're all kind of relatively young in terms of the group of people I work with. So it's intimidating for myself to be a leader and kind of take up those roles. But I think a good leader is someone who is approachable. I have met people who have been so intimidating, and I haven't felt comfortable approaching them for advice, guidance, mentorship. So I think that that's something that is a great quality to have, having good communication skills. As someone who works with AAPA and is one of 27 students who represent over 17,000 PA students in the country, that's having those skills is essential, just reaching out to other students in different programs. And kind of just being a person who, like Kristine was saying, being kind and empathetic. Those are pretty qualities that I think are important, as well as what everyone else has shared.
Awesome, thank you. And I want to sort of circle back to what Dr. Kernish was saying before in terms of being a leader. A lot of what you do most of the time is advocacy for your clients or your customers or your patients, advocacy for your team, advocacy for yourself. And this relates to a question we have in the chat, that as a woman, what is the best way to advocate for yourself in your experience? And I'd like to also add on to that in terms of, as a female leader, what's the best way to advocate for yourself? And I'd like to give a chance first to Nina to talk on that point.
For advocating for yourself, if you're passionate and you are very passionate about the cause or the goal that you're trying to pursue, I would try to advocate for myself, going to different organizations or getting mentors, looking for research, anything kind of like that, just to help empower yourself to get your advocacy going, and trying to push through and make change. If it's a law, you want to make sure you research everything correctly, and if you have issues with it, you want to speak to elected officials and kind of empower yourself and the group, and get people to get connected with you that also passionate about advocacy for that position or goal. You just want to make sure you have a standing point of that, and just trying to make sure you get to that part of it.
That's true. Thank you. And I know, like Sara, you already was speaking a little bit about to that point, like in terms of like interacting with people that don't necessarily agree with you. So in your experience, how have you advocated for yourself? What suggestions and recommendations do you have to other young women out there?
I would definitely recommend just being active and not being afraid to put yourself out there. I feel like I would never have gotten to this point and sought leadership roles if I hadn't put myself out there and applied for positions and things like that. So I think that that's really important. I know it's hard because we have so many different personality styles. Some of us are introverted, some of us are extroverted, but a lot of that has to do with being active. So I feel like that's something that's really important. And also just kind of being an advocate for yourself is realizing that you could inspire another young girl or another like groups of women who might look up to you. So I feel like as someone who is a person of color, as someone who is Pakistani American, I have my cousins back home who are looking up to me, and kind of having that there is enough for me to be an advocate for myself and make sure that I keep doing what I do so that I can inspire my family members and other people to seek higher leadership roles and things like that, higher education.
That's a wonderful point. Thank you. And yeah, I can definitely see you as a wonderful inspiration. Thank you. I know, Sharmilla, you are the executive director of the Staten Island Not-for-Profit Association. So in your experience, how do you advocate for yourself, especially as a woman and as a female leader, even more so?
I want to touch on something Sara said, which is that there are different types of leaders or different ways to lead. I recently reread parts of the book Quiet, which is about being an introvert. And I have worked with many women and boys and girls and as well young people that don't think that they can't be a leader because they can't be out in front and they can't stand up in front of a room or they don't want to, you know. And right now I'm working with some high school students that are trying to pick college majors and career paths. I mean, I didn't have to pick a career when I was in high school, but I know now that's what they do. And so I'm trying to say, you know, you don't have to just think about sitting behind a computer as not being a leader. Like you can be a leader wherever you show up. And so for me, showing up and advocating for yourself means speaking up with voice, with like attending something. Maybe you're not speaking up, but you're showing up to show your support for the issue or a colleague. It means writing. So much during this year has been about the power of voice through our words. I know so many young people today are using social media, and today I learned, I thought there were like 3 or 4, and I know, Kristine, you're going to, it's because I've learned so much about social media from you. There's so many channels and ways to express ourselves that I hadn't even thought about. And I love the best is like the statistics about who uses these different tools. And I'm like, oh, wow, I'm dating myself that I don't know about that one. But young people, especially as you're developing your voice and you're developing topics and issues that you care about, there are a lot of ways to advocate. It doesn't have to be the traditional ways that we thought about leadership. And the last thing I'll say, because I think this is really important about advocacy, is really going through an exercise, no matter where you are in your career journey, of what your values are. What are your motivational values? And again, this is an exercise I do with some young people and even people I work with is what is your personal mission statement? You know, and then it becomes much easier to advocate for things and feel empowered to have voice or show it through words or show it through showing up physically, that you have already aligned sort of your personal mission and your personal values with the change you're trying to seek in the world.
Awesome, wonderful. Yeah, that's especially a really great point on social media. Like that's something that's really like boomed in the last few years, especially now that we are like in a virtual work from home environment. And I wonder, Kristine, if you have anything you'd like to add specifically on the social media point or in regards in general on self-advocacy.
Absolutely. Well, thank you for the compliment, Sharmilla. I appreciate it because, you know, so many times we find ourselves in positions that maybe we're not equipped for, but often we're more prepared than we think. And I will tell you that as someone who prefers quiet, and that is one of my favorite books, I find myself, you know, the word introvert is such a delicate word because I think people lean on it a little bit and say, well, I'm an introvert, I'm not going to do that. And I think also it's a little bit of an escape word, you know, so while I would consider myself someone who prefers one-on-one conversation, I prefer quiet environments. I also will tell you that I am in an extrovert's job. And increasingly, we are all in extrovert jobs because increasingly we are all compelled to use social media as a means to attract people to our cause, our mission, to be brand ambassadors. Even when we're not officially brand ambassadors, we're all constantly representing both our family name and our work family, if you will, by whatever we choose to put on social. So I will tell you this. I did not think I would be doing videos almost daily to promote my employer, because my initial goals in life were to be a speechwriter, and you can't really choose anything quieter than a speechwriter as your profession. So that was my initial goal. And then here we are, where I was flown to Facebook headquarters because I use social media so consistently to tell the story of the community building that the Nicotras do, that Facebook found me and plucked me and flew me to California to their headquarters to kind of pick our brains and to see, how do we choose to build community? We run a group called Love Staten Island. We have a highly engaged group. I am the social media coordinator for all of the Nicotra companies. That's 22 different brand platforms across 5 different social media channels, platforms. And the 22 channels that we have about 70,000 people engaged with them. And we built that from scratch. I see you mouthing engage, amazing. And, we're amazed by it. But I will tell you that I am someone who approaches social media in a unique way. I think of it as you're coming to sit at my kitchen table and I'm going to have a conversation with you. We're going to share ideas. And I want to meet you. I want to know you. I want to know what you're interested in. Again, going back to listening. So that kind of runs a little bit across a couple of questions you asked, Stacy, but it doesn't matter what age you are or what background you are. If you come sit at my kitchen table on social media, I want to hear about you and what's important to you.
Wonderful. Thank you, Kristine. And I must add that I recently finished reading the book Quiet, and I'm a huge fan as someone who does sort of prescribe to being an introvert most of the time. But you did speak a little bit onto how sometimes being quiet may be a barrier. So to the point of, in terms of advocacy, I'd like to next ask Nisha, what do you think is the most significant barriers to female leadership and female advocacy in the workplace and in life in general?
And I think barriers wise, it's more so self-confidence. And I think Sharmilla, you touched on it. You need that mission statement. You need the why. And I came across this TED Talk video, and it said, people don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it. And that is so profound to me, and it's really informed me of the advocacy work I do today. And when we talk about self-advocacy, for me, I do it for them, right? So them being, my parents. I do it for my immigrant parents. I do it for the students that I serve. I do it for the populations that don't have a voice in their community. So finding your why and finding that mission statement, that personal mission statement that makes you get up in the morning, is really unlocking the door to a world of opportunities. And to any of our youth, because I know we have a couple of youth on and hopefully a lot of youth watching on Facebook, take that chance is really all I can say. Because what is the worst that can happen? Someone tells you no. Okay, so you try again, and someone may tell you no again. But the third time, you may not hear a no, and you can only get better, and you only can hear yeses after 25 no's, right? Like statistically speaking, you're gonna eventually hear a yes. So that's kind of my piece of advice in that regard.
Yeah, wonderful. Really well said. Thank you, Nisha. And I think you made a good point on the point that Sharmilla made, about this whole idea of what is your mission statement? So, Olivia, what is your mission statement, and how would you recommend, suggest, advocate for others, and how would you suggest that they advocate for themselves in their mission statement?
Yeah. Oh, wow. I've never been asked for my personal mission statement, and I might have to take some time to think about it and get back to you. I think that idea of having a personal mission statement and knowing what you stand for is really important. But I think to go along with that, know your value, know your worth and what you bring. And in any situation where you are going in and asking someone for something, know exactly what you're asking for, know what you know, the value is that you bring to them, and stand by that. Don't let them convince you that you are not worth as much as you know you are. I think that's one of the best ways that you can advocate for yourself is being prepared, and knowing what you want and knowing what you're worth.
Awesome, thank you. And I know, like, to circle back to Dr. Kurnish, who sort of really started this conversation on advocacy and specifically self-advocacy. How do you advocate for yourself in the workplace, and what specific challenges or barriers have you seen and experienced as a woman in medicine?
Yeah, definitely. I think that there are a lot of biases and stereotypes that people might have against you, or you might even think that people have against you that they might not, or they might. And I think that definitely creates, it does create, you feel uncomfortable, even if, sometimes you walk into the room with a medical student, who's a male, they will assume that that is the physician, and that, you're the nurse, even if you're the doctor and that's a medical student who just started day one of his rotation. So there are a lot of stereotypes and a lot of biases. And I think that resilience is when it becomes key. It's just stating, I'm the physician, I'm the doctor that you'll be seeing today, making it clear. And then advocacy comes into play. And I think a big part of advocacy is, as we discussed, is what do you want to advocate for? Because I can tell you a million things to advocate for, but if you're not passionate about any one of those things, they're not going to matter. So in order to, be involved in advocacy, you really need to ask yourself, what is important to me? What do I want to advocate for? And then I would say, network, reach out and meet, if it's other women or whatever your advocacy mission statement is, find other people who that rings true to them as well. And then don't be afraid to bring it up. Don't think that others are doing this advocacy work, because they might or they might not be. For example, recently we didn't have that many breastfeeding centers around the hospital. And I saw it as a chance that that's something that was important to me. I was a woman who wanted to breastfeed. And I was passionate about that, and I brought it up to senior leadership, and they were able to open, breastfeeding stations. And just having a woman come up to me and thank me recently for having a place that they could breastfeed and everything like that just made it also important. So in short, there will be biases, there will be stereotypes. Be resilient, find what you want to advocate for, and then don't think anyone else is doing it, because they might or might not be. So thank you.
Thank you for that answer, and I thank you for that work. That's really amazing. I'm sure a lot of women are very grateful for you talking to senior management and getting that work done. I want to sort of shift gears a little bit with us being in National Women's History Month and it being International Women's History Day a few weeks ago, to ask each of you which women, either historical women or personal female figures in your life, inspire and motivate you. And we'll first start off with Sara.
I don't know if this is like a stereotypical answer or not, but definitely my mom. My mom grew up in a small farm in Pakistan where people were just, women in general weren't going to school or seeking higher education or anything like that, because it was a super patriarchal society. And so once she immigrated here, I know like she would never ever put up barriers for either my sister or myself. We're both in medicine and nursing, so she kind of was our source of empowerment, essentially. So I would definitely say that my mom would be the female leader or someone I look up to, just because she inspires my sister and I to just keep going. But yeah, it's a little stereotypical, but I don't know.
Yeah, by no means is that stereotypical at all. Like, I know even for me personally, my mom, even my sisters really inspire me. But yeah, as we see in the chat, we love our moms. We really do. We wouldn't be ourselves. We wouldn't be here without them, of course. I'd like to next give a chance to Nisha to answer. Who inspires you?
I guess my mom too. Sarah, you stole my answer. But so my mom is a daughter of farmers back in Punjab, India, and we have cousins there as well. And one of the things that my mom endlessly advocates for to her brothers, to my uncles, is like, please let them go to school, let their girls go to school. Like my mom's like, and we're even like contemplating like bringing them here if we can make that happen, just because my mom has recognized the value of education. And to also give a quick shout out to Sharmilla, because she has become such a role model to me, honestly, because picking the social work field is not really a big thing in the Indian community, if I'm being completely honest. But to see a woman in power, a South Asian woman at that, in power, she's a role model essentially, and she only empowers me to be that for the younger generation. So yeah, those are my two answers.
Oh, that's so sweet, Nisha. Thank you. I feel like I need to pass the baton to Sharmila now to respond.
Nisha makes me tear at least once a week, and so that did it. I'm honored that you said that and that you feel that way. So I grew up on Staten Island. This is home for me. I left though for about 20 years, and so coming back and being part of a community of small business and nonprofit leaders, and being surrounded by many I think women in leadership is, for me personally, empowering and a model in and of itself. Some of you that know me, I didn't think I would find my way back here, but I did, because my mom is still here. And here on the theme of moms, she is here by herself. And my father passed away when I was in college. And my brother and I thought that, yeah, we'd have to move to go live with a relative, because that's what typically happens in immigrant families. Even though my mom was a professional and could do it on her own, it was a fear that my brother and I had. And she said, no way. She said she was empowered by the question, because it gave her strength that she left when she left India in the 70s and came here following her husband, that she had to now chart her own path. That determination, that courage, that confidence was, and again, yes, it sounds like corny and stereotypical, but and I did have another answer, but I'm going on this theme of how culture and history impacts the choices we make. Um, she really showed me, similarly to what you've said around the value of education, and that anything could be mine. I was automatically pre-med because that's what I thought I had to be. But when I said I was interested in public health and public policy and working with people, really quickly after college, I had support. And um, again, I think that when you have people in your life, and it can be a parent, it can be a friend, it can be a boss or a colleague, that give you that space to explore, that is inspiration that we all need. And sometimes we don't know what to look for either. And I think that part of, for me, in addition to my mom and aunts and other people in my life, surrounding ourselves with other women leaders that give us that boost, that show us it can be done and encourage it, create space at the table, sometimes maybe even give up their own space. It's that's what's empowering, and that's what's inspirational to me. So thank you, Nisha, for passing the baton and giving me an opportunity also to shout out my mom, because she's still going strong. Giving back, I learned it from her. The selflessness, always thinking about others and community, and it starts at home. I think that giving back starts from what we see modeled in our own home. And I learned that from her, and I still live those principles today. So yeah, thank you for the great question.
Great question and even better answer. Thank you. I feel like everyone is making great points. Like, it is important to like value the woman around us personally, but then also professionally. So I'd like to next give a chance to Nina to speak on what women inspire you, and in your experience, how important is it to have a mentor or have someone to look up to?
Like everybody iterated, my mother, my grandmother, and my sister, they're all strong and resilient women. And I believe also my entrepreneurs, my women-owned businesses, they are giving, they're determined to open up a business. It could be a single mom or anything like that. And they were just determined to reach their goals. They were able to hit the ground running, and whatever obstacle was thrown at them, no matter what, they were able to reach those goals and open their business and expand and get from a home base, they got a storefront. They were able to expand and do opportunities and give opportunities as well. So having a mentor is always great. I have a lot of wonderful mentors throughout the years working in the non-profit field. I used to work in Brooklyn, and now I'm in Staten Island for 10 years. So just working in this industry there's a lot of inspiring women, a lot of strong and dedicated women that you can look up to and, just see. And I love it that the young women on this panel are strong and amazing. And I look up to them. So you guys are great. And I can't wait for the future to see what you guys do. Very proud.
Thank you, Nina. And I think you make a really great point that everyone else is already echoing on how important resilience is and how important it is, especially having people in your corner to help you through, especially when things get tough. And especially since this is a female leadership panel, especially the women in our lives. So thank you for that. Continuing on the topic of resilience and mentorship and inspiration, Dr. Cornish, who inspires you either personally or professionally, and what makes you resilient?
Absolutely. So, I would echo with everyone, my mom, my family, but I'll take it into, kind of a different light is I just feel the whole mentorship program. So firstly, my mentors, one that I would call out is Dr. Burwald, who's the chairman of the emergency department, who has always just been very approachable, even in her high position, has, helped me. But I would also say my mentee. So I do have 3 mentees who are pediatric residents, and watching them grow and watching them get to the next step and succeed is what inspires me more than anything, other than, of course, treating my patients. And I think that that's really important. You'll have your mentors, but your mentees and watching them grow is something that's really special.
Wonderful, thank you. I know, like, even me, in my own personal experience, when I was in college, I was a peer mentor to some younger students, and it was a very important, very rewarding experience, just helping those students grow into themselves starting off college. So I definitely echo those sentiments. Thank you. Continuing on with this wonderful question, this wonderful topic, Kristine, who inspires you?
Well, first, my mother. It's funny when everyone started saying their mother, my favorite thing my mother has said to me since my earliest memories is that she's the president of my fan club. And you know what? Everybody, I know now, like on TikTok, people talk about having a hype man. My mother was my hype man before hype men were hype men. And so I try to be that for my daughters. So my mother certainly, and another thing I remember is coming home and saying to my mother, Mom, and, I was probably in middle school, did you know you don't have to go to college? I was shocked that because she always had a plan for us. And I think, as a teacher, she always set goals, always listening, always teaching. And I think that even though I did not go into education as a full-time component, that has affected every aspect of who I am as a leader and as a mother. And then I will tell you that my daughters inspire me because when I first, I've had many different jobs, but to talk about this particular position, my daughter was 4 when I started. My younger daughter was 4 when I started working here, and maybe a little bit older when I started in the chief of staff role. And I will never forget driving in the minivan and her from the back seat in her booster seat saying, "Wow, Mom, chief of staff, that sounds really important." And I thought, words matter, titles matter, examples matter. And whether or not they choose to do anything in their life like what I did, I was proud of my mother, and I want them to be proud of me and who I am and how I mother. That's important too. I know there's a lot of young people here, and so perhaps I am your parents' age. So I will say to you that your goals in life change and ebb and flow. So sometimes at different points of your life, it's good to look around and find some new mentors. Some people who are maybe living life the way you aspire to live it. because your life's going to change so many times. And the career I have now, I didn't know existed. And social media didn't exist when I was choosing careers. So things are going to change. So just be open to that. Look around. And quite honestly, ladies, I'm looking at all of you, and you can expect some new LinkedIn requests after this is over, because I love connecting to people, you know, live in different areas that maybe I'm not practicing in, but I think I can learn from you. So, you know, mentor me and tell me about STEM and tell me about what we can do in our community to help young women see themselves in your role. So I'm open. I'm still looking for people to inspire me. So my mother, first and foremost, my girls, and all of you ladies.
That's a very wonderful perspective, and I completely agree. It's always important to keep looking for someone else to aspire to and to inspire you. And on that point, since you did mention Liv, who does inspire you, who motivates you?
Yeah, so well, first of all, I was also just writing down all of your names so I can send some LinkedIn invites as well. I think that one of my favorite parts of my job actually is that I'm consistently exposed to and surrounded by incredible women who are working in leadership and community engagement. And it's just so incredible to have those connections and to meet new people and to see that and to be able to grow through that as well. And finding people that I can look up to and say, oh, maybe I want to end up like that one day, and you know, pull from their experience into mine. But I think this week, some of the people who have inspired me the most are the students that I've been meeting with. We're in the interview process for our summer program. For one of our summer programs. One of our applications is still open if you're interested in engineering. But anyway, we're in the interview process. And so I've spent all week getting to talk to students about why they're interested in STEM and what drives them outside of school. And so many students have blown me away with their answers of getting involved in their community and working on different campaigns or public projects. And they have created opportunities for themselves that I never would have had the courage to create for myself in high school. And that to me is incredibly inspiring. And I've been carrying that through this whole week, you know, hearing those stories of those students and being really excited to be able to engage with them further this summer and learn from them as I teach them about research, learn from the way that they've been able to create opportunities for themselves and, you know, really create something better. And so I think that's really who's been inspiring me this week.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And sort of like on that point, like we do have a lot of young women out on this panel. We have a lot of young women watching this on Facebook or who that will be watching this in the future. So what advice would you all give to the young women out there? How can we empower them? How can we help them advocate for themselves? And I'd like to first give a chance to Nisha.
I think it goes back to that idea of passion and recognizing what is it that you want in life and to not let anything deter you from getting it. I think far too often, and I hope Ariba is still on this call, but Ariba, when we talk about, so Ariba is one of my participants at Portsmouth High School, and she is so vocal and active in her community. And all I always think is, if I were anything like Ariba when I was 16, 17 years old, I don't know where I would be right now. And I say that in like the most amazing way ever. I would probably be like president of the United States. I don't know, because Ariba is so involved in almost, she participates in everything. So when we talk about like what can we do and how can we really encourage youth, it's again by recognizing their strengths and allowing their strengths to really empower them. I really, really believe that every student, every woman is so unique and powerful, but sometimes society doesn't allow us to see it as such. So when we read statistics about women are far more unlikely to apply for certain jobs because they don't think that they qualify. I will tell every woman on this call to apply for every single job because chances are you will get it if you just try. And I think this idea of like just being confident and being self-aware and recognizing your own skill set and owning your own skill set, not downplaying every accomplishment. Because I know, well, I didn't want to say no, but I'm sure a lot of us have done that on this call. We downplay everything that we've done, and I know I'm guilty of doing so. But to all our youth on the call, or all our females, all our women, you guys are awesome. And I'm telling you that, and I'm sure everyone else on this call will tell you the same. So always, always, always persevere and don't stop.
That's beautiful, Nisha. Thank you. But you made such wonderful points, and I think everyone else can definitely agree. But I also do want to give a chance to all of our other panelists to also answer this question. So, Kristine, what advice would you give to the future female leaders that are both in our audience now and watching this elsewhere?
I think be careful who you surround yourself with, because, you know, Women's History Month, we tend to talk about women, but there's been a lot of men in my life who have played a very important role. My father, so many of the men who have, and to your point, Nisha, seen a potential that maybe I was not speaking to, you know, and said, you are a good fit for this opportunity. So, you know, I know Women's History Month, maybe it's a little odd to celebrate men, but the men in my life have built me up. I tell my daughters all the time, don't think everyone's like your father. He has been my equal partner from the day we walked down the aisle. So, you know, and our roles have changed. That doesn't mean I haven't taken on some very maybe traditional roles at times, but I've enjoyed that. And then I merged back in. As I said before, life is fluid. So choose your partner well, whoever that partner is, choose your friends well, choose, you know, back to that hype man, make sure everyone around you is celebrating who you are. You know, I am, we're all unique. You know, we all know that we all have strengths and we all have weaknesses. So find somebody who builds up your strengths and applauds them and looks for opportunity for you. You know, before we talked about people we admire, I work for two people who work together 7 days a week. They're a couple, you know, so they have been a beautiful example of a partnership where they build each other up. So, you know, a married couple working together, sharing an office, sharing a life, you know, so that's a lovely example, and one you don't see in the media too often, one you don't see in, you know, in books you read, you don't see that too often. So that would be big advice. That's big life advice, is choose the people around you well. And just like junk food is okay sometimes, a diet of it is no good. If people are dragging you down, they can be in your life, but they can't be a daily diet.
Very good point. Thank you. And I love that analogy for sure. Thank you, Kristine. Diets, love it. Sara, what advice would you give to the future generation of female leaders as a young leader yourself?
Yeah, so kind of bouncing off of both what Kristine and Nisha were saying, I would definitely recommend young people to just go out there and not let anyone tell you what you can and can't do. I feel like I have also been surrounded by people, male, female, whatever, who have been kind of discouraging and saying, you know, you can't do that, or I don't think that's going to happen. People in my family. I mean, I'm so glad Nisha shouted out Ariba, because Ariba is my cousin. So so it's funny that how that works. But I'm glad, like, for example, empowering students. Port Richmond High School, one of the things that, as diversity chair, that I'm a part of right now is organizing a community sort of like panel just like this on Zoom, so that Port Richmond High School students know what options they have after high school. I mean, the neighborhood, it's in a low income neighborhood, and it is a neighborhood with a lot of people of color. So I want to make sure that kind of going out there and advocating and kind of introducing the PA profession, or any profession in medicine, for example, is something that I'm really passionate about. And so knowing what you are passionate about, making sure no one really puts you down, finding good mentors, like Kristine was saying. I found mentors really early, gratefully. And one of them is actually Nisha's sister, who's also a PA. So I didn't even know, Nisha and I grew up together. So yeah. We actually did summer youth, and like through UAU together too. So that was kind of my first exposure into what UAU is a part of. So being part of organizations like this and participating in Zoom calls like this is super important. I wish I had that growing up, but yeah, so I think I would echo everything that's being said so far.
Awesome. Thank you, Sarah. And yeah, that was a fun fact about our rework. That's great. Small world, it really is. Dr. Cornish, what advice would you give to young women out there?
So a lot of great things have been said. The thing I would add is really don't compare yourselves to others and focus on maintaining that life balance. So, sometimes we can just be so go, 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 so 100%. But it also is important to take time for yourself if that's fueling your body with the right food or, exercising or whatever, spending time with friends and family. Burnout is a real thing and burnout could happen. So remember, work hard, but also work-life balance and time for yourself and however you need to decompress is also so important in the long-term success of your future.
Wonderful. Thank you, Dr. Cornish. And that's such a fair and true point. Liv, what other insights or additional insights, I should say, that would you like to offer? What advice would you like to give?
Yeah, I think it's very similar to a lot of what's been said, but trust yourself. Trust your instincts. You know your personal experiences better than anyone. Be open to new opportunities and new experiences, but you know if it feels like the right fit. You know if a person around you is lifting you up or bringing you down. So trust that. Yeah, surround yourself with the things that bring you up and make you believe in yourself more. And I think to kind of echo and go along with what some people have said about surrounding yourself by people or surrounding yourself with people who are willing to shout you out and lift you up, be willing to do the same for other people. I really do feel like the more you shout out your friends, the more you lift them up, the more you'll create that culture around yourself and you'll find it comes back to you. And I think that's one of the best things that we can do as women for each other is lift each other up as often as possible. So yeah, do that. Tell your friends you love them today and that they're great.
Very well said and such beautiful sentiments. Thank you, Olive. Nina, would you like to add anything? Any additional insights or thoughts?
I think everybody said it 100%. I agree with everyone. I will also say be confident, be brilliant, and be bold, and just every, just be passionate, and make sure you do have time for yourself because it is time. It could be time consuming, and you might not have time for yourself. As women, sometimes we just take on a lot of things. We are multitaskers. However, we do need time for ourselves. So you always need that time for yourself. But be bold, be brilliant, and get the group of peers behind you. Peer-to-peer networking is the perfect idea. You want people to support you and you support them. It's like I'll scratch your back, you scratch my back. That's the way it goes.
Yeah, thank you, Nina. That support, like everyone else already echoed, is just so very important. And it starts like from panels like this where we get to meet each other and build each other and support each other. So thank you. And Sharmilla, what are your final thoughts? What's your final advice as we close ourselves out on this wonderful panel?
The questions are so great. And of course, ditto everything all of you have said. I had to go out and like circle the things that, because I had a lot of what you said. So for me, I'll leave you, I hope that what people take from today is the inspiration and the courage and all of the sort of boost that the panelists have shared. But I'm also going to ask you to try to figure out, in addition to your values and what motivates you and what you care about, passion, as many have talked about, your purpose, and as I think a couple of panelists have said, that could change. So remember to give yourself breaks to do that searching. We move so fast that sometimes we don't think about where we're going. And so building in that reflection time around revisiting our values and our purpose and our direction, I have found, and I'm not always good about doing it, but opportunities like this remind me about how important it is. But also know when to say no. I think we're so used to saying yes and grabbing opportunities and being involved in so many things because we think that to get ahead or to be out in front that's what we have to do. So I would just say that sometimes saying no is hard but necessary, and with that comes knowing when not to compromise. I can't tell you how many times people have said to me, mentors and others, you got to be nimble, you got to be flexible. But at the same time, that doesn't mean always putting myself last and compromising what I believe, what my values are, the people that I care about need to sort of have as a model. And lastly, you know, the journey is not always straight and clear, especially when we're talking about professions and purpose and giving back. But I want us all to know, because I've learned this, that the path we forge, even with the roadblocks through the opportunities, actually clears a way for a much brighter future. And I only know this because I've lived through some of these challenges, and I could have never predicted them, but something better was on the other side. And we've all lived through this year of COVID. I can't not mention how we've all been challenged. We've experienced loss. We've been asked to shift on a dime and do things differently. Students, professionals, parents, partners, whomever. And, you know that I want to leave us with hope. And so I always think about, I feel like learning has been a big part of today. Leadership and learning are inextricably linked for me. And this path of this last year has really shown me that the blocks, the barriers can really lead to opportunities that we may not have planned for. So I hope you leave with that hope from today.
Yeah, thank you so much, Sharmilla. That's a really beautiful, wonderful way to close us off and end us tonight. Again, sort of referring to that balance that Dr. Kurnish mentioned, and then to everyone else's points. And I know we are out of time, but so I'd like to extend another huge, tremendous thank you to all of our panelists, Nisha, Sara, Kristine, Sharmilla, Nina, Liv. And I know Dr. Kurnish left because she had some other prior commitments, but again, thank you all so much for taking the time, for saying such amazing and insightful thoughts and advice. And I hope you all enjoy the rest of your evening. And thank you to everyone who joined us in the audience.